everybody. It's a brisk autumn morning here, beautiful blue sky, and we've got a little bit of a job on today, for the next few days. Let's just stop, shall we? 4 sterling lithium 100 amp hour batteries, battery to battery charger, copper bus bars for the links. Yeah, quite a job actually. So I've got to take some Trojans out and install a set of lithiums on this this Widebeam. There is also some solar work to do. We're building, bolstering his solar input as well. So another 2 panels with a Victron smart solar controller that run in parallel with his other controller and his other panels. Why? Well, the panels he's got are no longer available, so it's not a case of just adding a couple and changing the controller. That would have been the preferred option, but the other option is to run another 2 panels on a different controller and run them side by side, which is perfectly okay. So it'll be these lithium batteries first. I've used these before on a few boats actually, the Sterling ones. They've got inbuilt BMS, Bluetooth BMS. And to get the 5-year guarantee, you have to use their B2B controller, their B2B charger. So guess what, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, it's a bit cool this morning, but I think we'll get in there, get cracking, get these old batteries out, get these in. Yeah, they're going to be in the engine bay, which we all know for cold temperatures on lithiums, they won't charge. So we probably will add a heater in here at some point, just to keep those topped up. But this particular customer won't be cruising about charging in the winter. It'll be all summertime stuff really, so should be fine. But yeah, that is a consideration, the low temperature of lithiums. But right, yes, let's go have one down to the boat. Let's get these old ones out, shall we?
Friday afternoon. Yeah, I mean, well, we've moved the boat, we're in the marina, so we're take it back Friday afternoon. So I bailed out of that, and he said, Mario's going to do the shuttles.
Well, there's the 4 lithiums, inbuilt BMS. One thing to watch out for on these, not charging below 0 and not discharging below -20. So we're going to fit a very small heater on a phosphat in there. They're just for those very cold months, January, February maybe. If it does get down below freezing, it just keeps these warm-ish, keeps them above freezing. They'll be on charge the whole time, so that'll help keep some warmth in them anyway. But as a bib and braces, we'll put a little heater in there. There are some batteries coming out, I think TN are making them, with inbuilt heaters, which is quite interesting. Because as you probably know, most boats have their battery trays in the engine bay. This is pretty good in one respect, because it's in a box. And it's a completely covered box, so it will insulate them to a certain extent, and we can put some more insulation on there if we want to. But that's where we're going. For everybody that knows about lithiums, you can't charge them below 0, but the BMS will prevent that. And I think, but I've just got to check, the temperature sensor on the battery to battery charger, I think that would prevent them charging as well, so double whammy. Right, there's the batteries, they're out, the old ones. Just there, nice and easy really, that one. So I'm going to put bus bars on these. I've done that quite a lot of times before. These the batteries that have the stud terminals, they really do lend themselves to that quite well. It'd be so nice to have a workshop on pallets, drilling on pallets. just putting a small pilot drill in there just to get the accuracy. Then I'll open it up to 8mm clearance. So these bus bars, 25mm by 6mm, so that gives you 25 times 6 for the cross-sectional area, so 150mm cross-sectional area, so way above anything you need. So that's pretty good on that respect. Right, so there's a pilot hold done. I think what I'm going to actually do is run another one through there before I get to 8.5mm. Right, that's all drilled and made sure they like a dry fit out on the pontoon. Just got to go get some heat shrink from CTC, which is not far away from me. I've just gone and got some heat shrink. Even that's gone up. I think everything's gone up. Yeah, 25mm heat shrink will just do for insulating between the terminals. So I just need to cut some lengths of that, some little bits, probably there, and then I'll get the hairdryer and shrink that on. Right, so okay, so I've got the mountings for the batteries, for the studs, and other tap off points and charge points if I want them, so I always put them in first. Build this up now and drop the batteries in, and we can that'll be probably one of the easier bits done. The harder bit is going to be figuring out how they've connected the charging side, the alternators and that to the batteries. Aqualine always do things slightly different to everyone else, so not there's a problem with that, there isn't. But it looks like there's only two big cables going to the batteries, which will be inverter obviously, but it looks like they've probably taken the charge side up onto maybe one of the isolators. So considering I've got to take one of those alternators or disconnect one alternator, just run on the one, and then put the B to B between them, it'd be a little bit of wiring. So I'll get these batteries dropped in, and that's part of it anyway. One thing I always do is write the serial number of the battery, because that's the one that you'll see in the Bluetooth app, because on the side of the battery, so I can see it, because that's where it is on there. That's really difficult to see once it's in a battery box. Okay, you can take photographs of it, but if I write it on the battery, then when I look at the battery box, I can see each one really easily, or somebody else in the future may be able to. Very carefully here. It's a bit dark in here, but I've just set this to position 7, the MPPT, which is for lithium, and what I've got to do now is set up lithium for the inverter charger as well. So I need to connect that to the software. You actually need this interface here, which I obviously have, and then it plugs in through a RJ45 cable. So I just need to configure that. Then that's set for lithium as well. Then the charging system is set up then apart from alternator. So this gives the customer their power back tonight. They'll be happy with that. So I'll use this little HP for Webasto diagnostics, and I just need to charge up a little bit and then we'll get cracking. I just had a little moment there. I've just been down there just to look at a few things, and I was like, just check the batteries, one of them things you do. That end battery's really hot. I was like, oh, that can't be right. Dipstick, sun's on it. So a little bit of a panic then. I was like, what's going on? Why is this one so hot? Sun's on it. That'll do it. Well, so just in the settings, I've just changed the charger over to lithium iron phosphate, which is correct. I needed to check that the capacity was still the same, which it is. So that's all good. I have actually sent those settings there, and it's just done a restart. So that's all done. Gives the customer power back, and all the lights and stuff are on. Allows the lithiums to get charged, which is good. Yeah, so now I need to look at the alternator side, which is separate from the solar and the inverter. There's obviously 3 ways of charging these, so 2 are done. That's easy enough. I've got to sort out the wiring in the back, and in the engine bay, and just figure out how they've done that, how they've connected the alternator. So basically what I'm going to do is disconnect the starter alternator, which is a tiny little jobby. The main alternator that will then go onto the starter battery, okay, and then between the starter battery and the lithiums is a battery to battery charger, so rather than a dumb alternator. That's not going to work. Lithiums ain't going to like that. But also when the lithiums are full, they just cut off. If you haven't got that starter battery there, you can just blow your alternator up the reg pack, because it just cuts the power straight off, or cuts the charging straight off, so you get a big spike on the alternator and it don't like it. So that's why that starter battery's there. That's there as a buffer, that's always there, that's always a load, a presence on that alternator, so it will be happy when the lithium shut off. Right, hope you got me. I can see we've got charging current on the BMV. So we've got charging current there, so that's all seems to be working. In fact, there's only one negative on these batteries anyway, which goes straight to the shunt. So that's why we're picking up all that current there. So yeah, so that's all good. They've got the power on. I can now look at how this is wired up for the alternator. Well, I've just looked at the alternator wiring and stuff. I've figured out how I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that today though. There's a few things I've got to look at on this boat, and one of them is the Webasto. It's a Thermo Pro 90, so one of the big ones, 9 kilowatt jobs. And I've seen it before, and it's a pain in the ass. Boat builders that cut the wiring looms off. So I end up, I know the word I want to use, chopping up my diagnostics cable, which I haven't really chopped it up, so I can connect in to the diagnostics on the Webasto. Crazy. Leave the bloody wiring looms alone, it makes our job so much more difficult. Aqualine, you're the worst culprit. I understand that you want to do things your own way, get that. Here they are, look, it's all chopped up, the wiring loom for the Webasto. All chopped up, none of the original connectors. And this is what's left of the diagnostics port. So I've had to crimp these bootlace fells on so I can try and talk to it to see what's wrong with it. Okay, I'll give in trying to talk to this bloody heater. So if I just try and run it up a bit. So you can see this LED here is flashing, so you get 5 very fast flashes, and then the next, that's locked out, that is actually. Yeah, so yesterday, that was, yesterday, yeah, okay, it's following day. That was giving me 5 quick flashes and 7 slow flashes. The 7 slow flashes is their temperature sensor fault. So those flashes, the number of slow flashes is the, each one is a unique fault. So I know for a fact this one is playing up because the temperature sensors either short circuit or open circuit, because I can't get the software to work. It's not the software, it's the buggered cables. I can't really get in and talk to it. I have talked to it in the past, because I've worked on this boat before, but yeah, right now it just won't communicate. So hey ho, I've got other things to do, so I'm gonna crack on with that. Right, so what I've done, I have disconnected the output from the small alternator, which is the starter alternator, and now the alternator, the main alternator, is going on to the starter solenoid, which goes off over to the starter battery. So that's your starting feed and that's your charging feed for the starter battery. So I've split the alternators, and now this alternator is not connected to the leisure batteries. Obviously an issue with that, disconnecting that starter alternator. I'll show you. So I hope you can see this is all right now. 13 volts at the starter. So now we can see that charging quite happily at 14 volts. So that's all okay now. The only thing that's not working is the tacho. What I've got to do is find which cable on that starter alternator is the tacho, and hop it over to the a domestic alternator or stuff. The only thing is that that ratio might not be right now, so I'll have to have a look at that. Right, bit of a hurry up. I've just run a cable for that heater. That will be fused on the inside. So that's that. Now I'm coming to wire up the battery to battery charger. So this sits between the starter battery and the lithiums, protects the lithiums, and also protects the alternator, because when the lithiums are full, they just turn off, blows the alternator, and this does the full proper charging, constant current that the lithium's like. So it's quite simple, really. You've got a common negative, your 12 volt in, which comes off the starter battery, and your 12 volt out, which goes to your leisure batteries. Two things on this particular install. The negative needs to go to the shunt, so it's measured on the BMV. No problem. And then we need to put 2 fuses, one on the starter battery to feed this, and one on the leisure batteries, which doesn't feed this, but it's about protecting the cable, which I've talked about many times before. So we need to put 2 fuses in, one on each side, one on the starter, one on the one on the leisure batteries. 16mm cable, which is actually manufacturer's recommendation for this sort of distance. Yeah, I should put 2 MIDI fuses in. Don't know if I've got any 70 amp fuses or 60 amp fuses. I can use either one, really. This cable's fine for either of those. It'll certainly carry 60 all day. So that's in. Again, these are clamp type terminals. You don't have to fit ferrules. Right, so I've just done a bit of crimping and stuff in the van. It was just easier. Temperature sensor connected. Output to a 70 amp fuse, MIDI fuse. Input to a 70 amp MIDI fuse. And on the negative, I've got a 10 and a 12 crimp in my pocket, because I'm not quite sure what it is on the shunt. I think it's probably 12. So I'm just going to drop this in, and yeah, we're going to get that connected up, shall we? See what happens. Right, I've just clipped all that and the 230 to the heater. I've just got to pull a plug on it this end. I've also wrapped it in this flexible conduit, split conduit. That's the 230 and the 12 volt stuff from the B2B. The B2B is kicking in perfectly well right now. It's all tie wrapped underneath, so it's all neat. I'll show you that in a second. Still a bit of work to do, but we're getting a bit closer. I've got to fix that B2B on the side. I've got to cut a little bit of a hole in the box for the cables getting to the battery box. All that's clipped, like I say. The heater's mounted and wired. Just need a plug for this end. All the isolation's done, all the fusing's done. So this rather, not a big job, but you know, 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Not big days, 6, 7 hours a piece. I've got to do now tomorrow is fit that temperature sensor on the Webasto Pro 90. I'd say fit that box. And yeah, the solar is now running off the single pair. So next time when the customer's ready and he's got his brackets, then I'll wire from that solar controller through to the batteries and pop a fuse on there. So I haven't got the cable for that today. There's no mad rush. It's going to be next week after, before he gets the panels mounted. And even if I rushed out and got the cable, I've still got to come back anyway. So I'll order some 10mm cable for that. Yeah, so we're getting somewhere, just getting somewhere. Morning guys, sweatshirt day, bit damp this morning. What have I done? Put the plug on that heater, So that's all working okay. To cool keep the batteries toasty in winter. I've just looked through the Barris manual, and the tacho on that 50 amp starter alternator is the black and with the blue trace. So I'm just going to get a bit of cable out of the van and hop that over, and about 1,000 revs tick over, 900 revs tick over. So if it's something about that, then we're good to go. Well, that's reading a little high. Yeah, that's reading a little high. Thought it might be close, but not bang on. That's really the right way to do it. I don't know whether I can adjust that tick over, not speed, but the ratio or something. I'll have a look on the back of the clock, see if there's anything. Well, I like about this job sometimes, not all the time, but every day is a school day. So there's actually a button on the back of that Barris tacho that you can tweak the input waveform, the pulses, frequency is a better word. And now it's reading perfectly 1,000 revs like it was before. Great, so I'll just show you that now. Happy with that. Right, what else I've got to do? Getting close actually. I've mounted the B2B. That's on the side panel there. Got to cut the wood out a little bit for the cover. Give all the batteries another check over. Just tweak it's a sanity check, I'll call it. Just to make sure that there's nothing loose on those batteries. Because sometimes when you've got a lot going on, you know, you want to go back and just check that over. So I'll do that now. Waiting for the part for the Webasto. Bloody hell. Oh, I need to talk to Sterling about talking to those batteries, because I can't at the moment. Give them a ring now. Okay, I've done a bit of engineering, wiring. And as I thought, the heater is locked out. And we've got heater interlock, yep, I know about that. Temperature sensor short circuit, which we're waiting for. And there's a couple of old errors here that we can ignore, they're not current. So this will be the one that's caused all the problems. So let's get that changed out. Right, here's the Webasto Pro 90. So this is the sensor in question. So this measures the water temperature, and if there's a short or a open circuit on that, it will eventually lock out. It won't run if there's a fault with that sensor. So standard kit for me, clamping off the outlet, clamping off the inlet, because that sensor is straight into the water jacket. So I've already loosened it off. You haven't got to take the heater off for this particular fix. So I'm just going to leave that there for now, while I wait for the new sensor to arrive, and then that'll be a quick swap out. Right, that's the offending article. Just swap that out. Took the clamps off. And that's just firing up now. And you can see the errors have cleared as well. Well, they have, because I've cleared them. Right, that heater's all run up. I should really video that for you, but yeah, sometimes I resort to my primary function, which is getting the job done. So anyway, that heater's all run up perfectly fine. It was that sensor. So wrapped up with a customer, done all my final checks, put everything back together, tidied up, all that sort of stuff, and he's happy boy. So those 4 lithiums, battery to battery, charger, fixed his Webasto, installed his heater, and then done some prelim work for the 2 additional solar panels, and then week after next I should get when he's got the brackets made, I should go and install those. So yeah, that's about it for me on this particular job. Some more stuff coming up, obviously. Getting close to the winter time now, though, obviously. That's twice I've said obviously. Getting close to the winter, where jobs start to tail off, and I've obviously got winter plans. Oh, I don't know what CRT are doing over there. We got winter plans as well. I don't like working on boats in January and February. It's grim. So, but still some things to do before I wrap it up for the winter. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of that. Not an instructional video, obviously, but more like this is what I'm doing, this is how to do it, and maybe there's some little tidbits that you learnt along the way. I certainly learnt about those barras tacos, which was good, that you can adjust them. Remember that for the future. And if all tacos have that, I don't know. But yeah, all good. Hard 2.5 days really. Knees complaining a little bit. And you know, you get scratches from engine bays, especially when you're wearing shorts and stuff. But all good. Off on my boat today. I did a little bit of work on my boat yesterday afternoon, wiring an alternator up to A to B. So yeah, a bit like Groundhog Day for me. So right, we'll wrap that up, shall we? And I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to give us a like if you want. Press that subscribe button. Appreciate it. And yeah, good. See you next time.